Hi guys, it's Frenchy and today I'm going to show you a grade that I've done recently for a commercial that I've done for Lunar New Year, and I'm going to show you my process from A to Z. It was such a fun challenge to create this festive and vibrant mood for this brand, using warm color palette with deep red to really transmit this celebratory spirit. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through behind the process of doing the look, how I build the grade, how I balance the warm tones, but also how I brought to life the visual. Plus, I share some creative and technical decisions that help shape the final piece. So whether you are curious about crafting seasonal look or building warm palettes, or even just being curious on how we are grading commercials, you're in the right place. Before we are jumping to the tutorial, the channel is almost at 10,000 subscribers, and I could have never believed in my life that this channel would grow this much, and I'm so grateful, guys. It's such a journey, and it's thanks to you, and I'm really touched by it. If you want to join the community, we are here to make the learning of color grading accessible, and by my experience of a self-taught colorist, I know how much it is impressive, to learn color grading and how much the learning curve is huge. And so I am here to ease your journey in this. So just hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. And for those that already subscribed, thank you so much to be here. And yeah, let's jump to the tutorial. It's been a long time that we haven't done a breakdown in this channel, and I've done this commercial and I was like, oh, actually that's pretty interesting as a look, especially for festive season, so why not go over the grade and see what we have done. So of course there's some techniques that I showed you because I'm not really gatekeeping on how I build my grades, but there's a technique that I never talked to you about on my channel, so just stay right here to see what is this technique, what is this new node in my node tree, because you're gonna be mind blown. So let's just start. We have a very cutesy over here, and right now I'm just trying to find a frame that I really like and that I want to build the look on. And so I like this frame. This one would be my hero frame, and we will stay on this frame as a reference. So I'm going to show you the end result. So the end result would be this, very warm with very poppy colors. I want the red to be quite dense, but I don't want the image to be dark. So this is our objective here. So you're gonna see how I achieve this. We're gonna map first the footage, and to map the footage, I've put this footage into the group. So this is my Sony 2 because my Sony 1 was my actual project. So for us to do it again together, I just created another group. So I've put it in my Sony group, so then I have access to my group pre-clip here and my group post-clip here. Okay, we're gonna check where I am as a color management in my project, and so I want my timeline color space to be in DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate, just because I like to work in this color space as I have more possibilities with the color plus the luminance of my footage. And the output color space is going to be Break 709 Gamma 2.4 because it's a destination of TVs. So I save this, and I can then put my color space transform for DaVinci Wide Gamut color space. So I'm going to go to my effect over here, and I'm going to type color space transform. So you already see that I already typed it. And for the input color space, I'm going to type Sony as Gamut 3, and output color space, it's going to be DaVinci Wide Gamut and DaVinci Intermediate. Okay, so here in tone mapping, I like to put none because I don't want to have any interpretation of DaVinci Resolve on how I map my footage from log camera to the DaVinci Wide Gamut color space. After to finish my mapping, you're gonna see like I have a node that is called GP2499. So this node, if you haven't seen my video about the DCTL JP2499, I just put it in the annotation. But this node is pretty good because this is kind of a replacement for the color space transform. So why I chose GP2499 on this case particularly is just because, and you're gonna have a better understanding if you watch the video before, it's just because it gives me really warm highlights and cyan shadows, and I find it a very good starting point to my image. So to find this, I will go to my effect and I will type DCTL up, and I will go to my GP2499 DRT. Okay, so when I put my GP2499 DRT, the preset is already at DaVinci White Gamut, so I don't need to change it, and my output is in Rec 709 to Gamma 2.4. So this, I don't need to touch it, and I like it at the preset values. So after, I wanted to put a spin on my grade instead of just like getting the look from the Rec 709. I put two of my LUTs that are built for DaVinci White Gamut. Okay, so the first LUT will be, so I go to Frenchy LUT and the Colorist Companion Pack full. For the first LUT, this is the Budapest, and I like the Budapest because it gives you very blue shadows and darks, and I like kind of, you know, this separation in the shadows. So I've put this at 50%, so you just go to your node key and you put it at 51 or 50%. And after, I put the Seoul just after the Budapest. So the Seoul is also in my LUT pack, and this Seoul like would also intensify the orange and teal kind of look. But I find that how I built it, it has more cinematic feel to it. So I'm just gonna put this Seoul LUT at 30%. So let's go to 30. Okay, and I find that we have a nice base. So this is without the LUTs, and this is with the LUTs. And so what the LUTs are doing right now in our image is just that it will intensify and densify the colors, and also it will just like create a better contrast over our image. So now that this is set, I've put my look actually at the group post clip because I want, you know, that it affects all my timeline. So that is why I put everything at the end of the group post clip, and after we can go to our clip. So here we're gonna just modify the clip in itself. If, for example, my node tree is making you a bit shaky, that's okay, don't worry, you know, like if you want to understand a bit more how I build my node tree, you can watch the video about the ultimate node guide for beginner, and so here you're gonna have like all your answers in this. So right now I'm just gonna start the grade with the balance. I'm just gonna reset the view on the waveform, so then it's easier for me to see what's going on in my waveform. My objective here is to make the grade look bright and also that feels soft. Okay, so right now, like I would say, I like the contrast of the LUTs, but the thing is, maybe, you know, the contrast is a bit too intense for, you know, a commercial that is supposed to be bright, warm, and welcoming. Okay, so then for the balance, I will go to my HDR because I have a preference for the global wheel in HDR to open my image. Why? It's just because compared to offset, HDR will keep the contrast that the image has in itself. So I will just raise my global over here. Okay, so I will raise it until like 0.56, and it opens up my image quite well because you see like this was before, this is after, and what I like with it is that we don't have lifted shadows that you can have with the offset. So after, I will go to the roll-off node, and so the roll-off node for me is to just try to have more harmonious highlights, and so for this I will just go to the light, and I will go down in expo to -0.7, yeah, like this. So if you can see, this is not a tremendous change. I can see it on my computer, but maybe on YouTube it's gonna be hard to see. But this is before, this is after. After this, we're gonna go to Linear. And so Linear is actually a tool that maybe I never showed you on this channel. And so this is our first time, guys. So Linear is actually a node that I really like to work on when, for example, I need to move the colors around. So instead of, for example, using my offset and trying to find a color that I like, I prefer to go to my node, right click, go to gamma, and use the gamma linear over here for my node. So this node, really to be short, this node like will have a behavior that the linear color space will have. For example, having this node, I can go to my gain and I can move around in my gain my colors to have something that is pleasing. And I like how the colors are reacting because it always respects the light over here. Because what is good with the linear color space is that the linear color space is made to respect the weight of the light in the frame. So for the gain, I'm going to show you what I've done. I'm just going to type in the numbers that I exactly put. For your personal experience, you can just drag, the colors around like this to see what is the most pleasing for your eye. But for me, it was 1.10. Over here in red, 0.93, and it was 0.87 over here. Okay, so this is what I have now. I wanted something that was super yellow. So here, yeah, you have something super yellow, and this would be actually my warmth. What I did also is that I went to the gain and I just reduce the gain just to have something that is more controlled. So this is without the linear node, and this is with the linear node. And even if you are going a bit too further, at least, you can go back to node key and remove some opacity in the grade. Okay, so after I went to density and I used the color slice. So in the color slice, I just targeted the reds because I want to affect the reds. I targeted the skin and I targeted the yellow because technically in my frame, these are the three main dominant colors. I have yellow here, I have red, and I have the skin. So I want to unsaturate a tiny bit the image because right now I feel there is too much information that is going on in the frame. So I would go to the red and I will go down to 0.79. I will go to the skin and I will go down to 0.90, and you can see for the skin it's really nice because it really cleans up my warmth that was a bit too overkill. And also I go to the yellow and I will just tone down to 0.60. I just go 0.66. So you can see we went from this to this, and it's pretty nice, like I find that it's really good. After this, we're gonna go to our hue, and so our node hue would help us like to just control some of the colors in the frame. And so here, what I want to control, I'm just gonna go to a 16 hue resolution in the color wrapper and extend my color wrapper. And I want to control the line of the skin over here. So I can grab the vector of skin that you see here, because I can also identify where is my vector of skin if I go over my skin and I see my indicator in the color wrapper. I take it and I can just reduce a tiny bit, just like this, and maybe going towards red, something like that. I find that it cleans up quite well, and I'm just gonna go towards red just to have something that is warm, but at the same time that is quite pleasing and quite clean, you know? So over here, yes, like that. I really like this. So why I don't have a node in my node tree that is only dedicated for skin tone, it's because here we have the density and the hue that are doing a great job. So if you see, if I remove density and hue, we went from this to this. So we have more magenta going on in the skin feel more natural, everything is cleaner, and also, you know, like we are not having the need to, for example, select the skin and move the skin around. That is my advice also for you when you are color grading for a client. Sometimes you have no time to select the skin, and so then like do your modification with the skin, because after you need to do another selection in another shot, you know, to do the skin again. And you are wasting a lot of time for sometimes not such a great result, because sometimes like the qualifier can create noise and can create some artifacts. And so I think if you can nail your skin either in your primaries or in your secondaries without using the qualifier, that's the best. After this, then we're gonna exit the parallel node and we're gonna go to the effects of the grade. And so for the effects, I use a sharpening node, so a node to have some sharpness, and you can see there's something weird that is going on in this node. So I'm just going to show you what I've done. I went to the sharpness node and I right click and I went to add matte. So I added a matte, I just click on this and it will create a node with a key link. So what does it do? I'm just going to show you without the matte. So I want to go for sharpness. So I will go to my blur radius and I will go to my radius and I will go down to have my sharpness. If I go to my 041, you can see that my sharpness is very patchy, you know, very unnatural. So this is before, this is after. And it really feels like a home video camcorder kind of thing. But if I enable my matte, you're gonna see what happened. So if you see, I'm having a nicer sharpening over my image. So I'm having more details coming out that are more natural with actually the same amount that I used without the matte. Okay, so this technique can help you, you know, to sharpen an image that is a bit more natural than just the blur radius by itself. After, I've done some texture, and for the texture, I use texture pop. I'm gonna show you. And in texture pop, I go to advanced, and I will just, in this case, use the coarse and use the medium. So what I like to do with texture pop is going to the highlight mode and going to the AB mode. Okay, so in coarse I can see, you know, like what I affect. In this case, what I have done is that I went to 0.209 over here, or 207 is almost the same. And after, for the medium, I went to a 0.039. Okay, so you can see what the texture pop affected in the image. And if I remove my highlight mode, you can see, so this is without texture pop and this is with texture pop. Without texture pop and with texture pop. And it really helped to make the image way more 3D than it was. For the sharpness, I think I will just tone down a tiny bit. at 0.46. I think it's better like that. So we're gonna create the vignette, and that's gonna be our final touch for the grade. And I like to do vignettes that are a bit more overall sometimes. So in this case, I like to do this overall vignette. So I went to a big shape of vignette like this, and I went to my curve, I linked everything, and I went up just like for my character to be a bit more lit. If you see, and after I went outside, so I created an outside node, and I just went down to have like a more focused image. So I can show you what happened. So this was before, this is after, before and after. It really helps your focus to go on this little girl, because this little girl is the main character in the video. So before I wrap up the tutorial, there's something that I forgot to do, and you see, like, it also happened on professionals. So during the tutorial, I didn't notice that my highlights were a bit too high. So what I can do is just go to my light and go down a bit more to something like minus 0.28, so you can see the effects. This is without the roll-off, and this is with the roll-off. And what I can do is going to my highlights. My highlights like would be the window that you can see outside. I will go down and have it a tiny bit safer to what I had. I just don't want it to be overkill and not feel too dark. So if you see, this was before the roll-off, and this is with the roll-off. So it helps to contain all the highlights, but at the same time, we are not losing in the brightness too much, and I find it pretty nice. So I hope you liked it, guys. That was the breakdown of the Lunar New Year commercial of Guardian that I've done, and that was a really fun project with a cool client. If you are interested with the LUTs, I put you the link in the description. Subscribe to the channel. We are almost 10,000 subscribers. That's insane. I could have never thought about this, you know, in my life, that 10,000 people would love the content that I put here. So thank you so much, guys. And yeah, I see you for next video. See you, guys.